We're up at Bill and Linda Pinkham's beautiful garden, one of the most incredible plant collections you'll ever see. There's going to be other video content from it. You can see just the space I'm standing in right now. We could do a video of 150 plants that are within 30 feet of me in each direction. And that would be a great video in and of itself. Just an incredible collection of plants and things from all over the world. Agaves and cacti in the front there, mixed with pines that, you know, grow in the northern Europe and so on and so forth, and Japanese plants, and amazing, right? This video right here, though, I'm going to talk about some of the plants that, in order, this is a big garden space. It's between 2 and 3 acres, and it's got a deer fence around it, so you can just go wild, even though there are deer in this area. But even with this much space, he's collected so many plants that he has to manipulate some taller in order to, you know, to not lose space to other, you know, to one plant take up 20 feet across. So I'm going to give you some examples of plants that he's trained like that. There are lots of plants in this garden. There, just to my left over here, there's a Twomley's Red Sentinel Japanese maple. That's how that Japanese maple kind of grows. I'm sure he's done some pruning on it. There's a yew a little further over to the right there. Another one he's done some pruning on as well, you know, a little bit, but that's kind of the way that one grows. So you can buy plants that are tall and skinny, and then you can manipulate plants to be tall and skinny. That's what this video is going to be about. Side by side here, and Steph showed you this in another video we just put up, so we're going to jump away from this quick, but this is side by side comparison. That's sugar maple right there called Sean's Pillar on the left as you're looking at this. They're side by side. That's how that Acer saccharum grows, that sugar maple grows, just tall and thin. On the other hand, this Picea abies or Norway spruce called Cobra would just grow as a ground cover across the ground if it wasn't being staked up. So this one has to be staked up like that. So this one has a stake in the middle of it, the other one doesn't. These are the plants we're going to cover in this video. The ones that have been intentionally staked up to get them up and out of the way so other things can be grown in that same neighborhood. I only had to walk 20 feet to find 2 more. This is a taxodium that's been pollarded back to the center like this to keep it under control. I showed this in a tour video and also showed this deciduous magnolia here called Elizabeth. You can see how all the branches have been cut back to the main stem and allowed to leaf out. And then this, they bloom on the terminal buds, so it'll still flower. And after it flowers each year, if you want to, you can cut them back to the center. We've seen this done with lots of other magnolias. Magnolias are they're right at the top of the list on something you can do with this. Same thing with the taxodium. We saw, I think Jeremy Schmidt, when we were filming with Jeremy, he had a taxodium wall he had been pollarding like this. That was super unique as well, but let's find some more. We covered this Dragon Master Japanese maple in a back and forth video between Steph and I that you will have already seen, but that's another example. There are quite a few Japanese maples that would need to be staked in order to get height and have them not just crawl across the ground. Again, maybe you do want it to crawl across the ground and maybe that's the thing you want to do with it, but there are a lot of plants that would benefit from staking and then it just comes straight down to the ground and it doesn't take up a lot of ground space and lots of other things being grown around it. A few selections here in one spot. Arizona cypress here, this could get 50 feet tall if you let it and take up a giant space out here, or you can do what Bill and Linda have done, which is turn it into a bit of a lollipop and limb it up over time. You can see it's got some age on it, right? You see how thick the caliper is on that tree at this point. It had a stake in it that might just be stuck in the roots at this point when it was originally staked up. There's several other conifers here that are limbed up as well. There's a Japanese maple that's been manipulated with a stake to kind of force the growth this way, and then you can walk up this path underneath it. There's a Camellia japonica behind me that's been lollipopped, and just, heck, the maple's growing under it. There's a barberry growing under it, a Japanese holly, some irises back there behind it, but you can see that ground space being gained by manipulating one of these plants that would be, this plant would be full all the way to the ground. You wouldn't be able to see through it. It would cut off the angle. You know, when you come down this path, I can see around things. I can see a honeysuckle flowering, you know, behind the Arizona cypress back there, so on and so forth. I can see the agave that's been planted basically underneath it. That's also the same, almost the same color as that Arizona cypress as well. This is a weeping katsura called Tidal Wave, a pretty fast growing one. And with this weeping tree like this, normally they'll be pretty wide and the branches will be right down to the ground, even crawling across the ground. This one has a stake in it, has a steel pipe running up through it that's, I don't know, 15 feet tall at this point, something like that. And it's been manipulated all the way up there to get it up and off the ground. And anything that's reaching the ground back here, like this branch that, you know, on the back side here, will probably ultimately be cut off. So you still get this beautiful weeping form. You get everything, you know, that you would want to get out of this beautiful weeping tree that has this snake-like, you know, kind of growth habit as it goes up. But again, lifted up off the ground. So there's cast iron plants underneath it, and rhodia. I see hellebores over there. Other perennials growing around the back of it, some stipa grass growing in the rock over here, some dwarf mondo grass, all kinds of things. I can go on and on and on, but that's the advantage of having lifted this tree up over time. When we normally see a weeping katsura like this, they're big, broad, wide limbs all the way to the ground. You basically have to come in and spread the branches apart to see inside of it. But this is a different way to go about that. It wouldn't take that much maintenance to do this. It's like a once a year kind of maintenance to keep it thinner, keep it open, see the structure of it, that kind of thing. This is one that I talked about in another video, so I won't go on and on about it. If you've watched any of the tour videos from here, you'll know this is unraveled boxwood, which typically you buy this tall and every branch is kind of weeping to the ground and just kind of falls on itself. It can ultimately, you know, get 3 or 4 feet, maybe even 5 feet tall in the future as it just kind of piles on itself. But what he did was put a post in it, or Bill or Linda did, was put a post in it and then tie it up to the post and continue to manipulate it higher and higher and then shear the sides a bit. So it's at home next to this agave. Well, this agave is on its way out because it's flowering right now, but you can see how little space this is taking up. Another one I talked about in that same video was that orange rocket barberry, which typically, once it reaches in that 4 to 5 foot range, it really starts to splay out quite a bit. So this one has been sheared on the side a bit in order to keep it super narrow and be able to continue to have it in that narrow spot that it's occupying. This is a weeping Canadian hemlock, which ultimately can get quite big, but if you just let it grow without staking it in some way, this one is staked up to about 8 feet in height at this point. If you don't stake it like this, it just piles on itself to get bigger, right? That's how it grows. It just has to kind of pile on itself. This, you can just go ahead and elevate it, allow it to kind of pick a leader, stake that up straight onto the post, and then come back down in here over the years and take the limbs off the very bottom of it so we can get it up tall and let it weep down. So you can buy this a couple different ways. You can buy these weeping hemlocks like staked in a field or, you know, in a container that are about this tall and about this wide because they've been staked up for a long time. So you can go ahead and buy it like this, or you can buy a little shrubby one and know that you're gonna have to put a little bit of work into it to ultimately lift it up. This one, because he has lifted it up, again, I can go around here and talk about the acanthus or the peony, or there were some daffodils under here. There's some pulmonaria or lungwort under there. So lots of different things being grown under what would be just a really broad, wide shrub if it wasn't being manipulated. Here's a European hornbeam, and this, you know, these are manipulated like crazy all over Europe for screening plants. And so these can be sheared however you want to. There's some selections that are just super narrow. And actually, this one's untagged, so I don't know if it's one of those or it's just been pruned a little bit in order to keep it sheared like this. But it's in a group of all kinds of manipulated plants here. Here is a flying dragon, trifoliate orange, citrus. It was Ponceris, but now it's citrus. But you can see how these have been staked up, single trunked, and cut into these balls. Again, something to get them out of the way. And these are thorny beasts, so this may be a good way to be able to maintain your garden when you're growing this plant as well, because it has spikes on them that are inch long. There's a weeping cherry in the back to the extreme. So he's staking it and staking it and staking it. Every time it'll volunteer to go up a little more, because when you buy a weeping cherry, typically they're going to be grafted, and if you don't start to do some staking of it, it's just going to stay that height or get a little bit bigger each year, but it won't get a whole lot bigger. This one, he's really been able to go for it. He's really gone for it, and that stake is probably 18 feet tall or something. It's got another 2 feet or so to grow to reach the top of it. and then it'll be up and out of the way here in the garden. Another one that's manipulated here is this star jasmine, and I recently ran into this. This is one I grew at my nursery. It's called Madison. It's got this interesting kind of seed pod on it. It typically it's a heavy flowering variety. It's a really good star jasmine selection. But you know, with these, you know, they're vining and can run across the ground. They can run on other plants. They can get out of control. By putting it on this, in this metal frame here, you can just go through after it flowers every year and just kind of cut it back to the metal frame and be done with it. And it's not bothering anything else. It's not getting out in the garden. You can smell the fragrance right now if you were here, standing here. These little white, insignificant kind of white little pinwheel flowers are super, super fragrant. There's a Yopon holly behind it that has 3 branches down at the bottom, and it's in the process of being limbed up as well, and again allowing for things to be grown up under it. There's a that's a Yopon holly underneath a Yopon holly, isn't it? Back there behind it, that's like a dwarf Yopon holly under a regular Yopon holly. That's kind of interesting. It's like a mom and a kid kind of situation going on there, something like that. And I'll finish up this video. There's a ton of narrow plants in here. We wanted to come back and film just a video on narrow plants. They're just narrow on their own, not manipulated like the ones I'm showing you in this video. But this was one of the more interesting ones I've seen here in the garden. This is one of my absolute all-time favorite camellias. Super, super reliable pink flowering camellia called Crimson Candles. This is a cross between Fraterna and Reticulata, I think, and it is just so incredibly reliable. It blooms a little bit later than some of the others in the spring, and is always a show off. Every one of these I could ever grow when they were in bloom. They were flying out of my my garden center pretty much nonstop in my farmer's market space. But this one, typically, this is a shrub that gets tall and broad, maybe half the width is of the height. So if this one, if it had just been allowed to grow like it normally grows, it's 10 feet tall or so up there right now. It'd be at least 5 feet wide, okay? And it would be branched all the way to the ground. So what he's done here is, again, trying to get the plant collector in an incredible plant collection. He's basically continued to stake this up this post. It's also getting into a little more light now, although these like part shade. It probably would like a little more light than it's in. It's getting up there now where it can get a little bit more light, and basically keeping it narrow as it's done that. So this is a pretty good example of what you can take, you know, what you can do with a leafy evergreen plant to save space, you know, in a narrow spot. Imagine you could put this on the corner of a foundation spot where you need something super narrow, and you put it there and you read the tag and go, wow, it says it gets 20 feet tall and 10 feet wide. Well, not necessarily, and camellias grow so slow that, you know, this is a once a year maintenance job here. It's not a constant maintenance job. You know, the vine can get a little more out of control. You have to pick the right plant too, something that's slower growing, you know, like the hemlock we saw and a few of the conifers we saw. They're going to be much easier to do this with, because they're going to be once or twice a year. You'll get in here and do a little bit of work, cut them back, get them, you know, back in a little bit and under control. So there you go. Kind of fun, right? Plants that are being manipulated a bit to fit a space, to allow many, many, many more plants to be grown around them and still be healthy and in great shape here in this garden up in Virginia. So thank you guys so much for following along with it.